explain to them how the music is tied to frequency and what kind of music should they be listening to that can help them with their quest to have more joy and to basically live at a higher frequency.
Absolutely. Well, I always tell people, we all have our favorite genres. And
Mm-hmm.
so I, on my healing journey, has started curating like over 2,000 songs to a
Hmm.
point that now I have my own genre.
Wow.
And launched it. It's called Blue Soul. And so
Mm.
whatever music that pretty much feels at home for you, whether it's pop music, whether it's soul or jazz or what have you, I like bossa nova music as well. Whatever you feel that your body is saying yes to, that's the genre of music you need to be listening
Yes, yes. Hi, I'm Glennis Woods Mullins, and I love to help women to vibe, to be more vibrant, intuitive, beautiful, and empowered in midlife. So come on, let's vibe. You always hear me talk about raising our vibration and the importance of having a high vibe. I mean, that's what the whole Vibe Living podcast is about, is finding ways to be more vibrant, more intuitive, more beautiful and empowered. And if you are all those things, that means you must be operating highly in the vibrational realm. So what does that really mean when you have a high vibration or a high frequency? And if you don't have it, what is it that you can do to get it? Well, our guest is an expert when it comes to talking about things like this. I'm so proud to introduce to you my dear friend, Nurse Blue. She is an undeniable, powerful force of God on this planet. She is an RN, but she's also the soul health and wellness expert, a musicologist, a spiritual activist, and the author of a brand new book, Freedom is a Frequency. This is a musicology joy journal designed to help you elevate your energy, health, peace, confidence, relationships, and abundance. There's so much more I could say about Nurse Blue, but I want you to get her to know her on her own terms, on her own words. Nurse Blue, or as her name is, Latrice Levitt, welcome to the Vibe Living podcast. It's so great to have you on today.
And it's so great to see you. Thank you so much for the invitation. And because this is all about vibing, I'm so excited to be here. That's my love. Soul
Yes, it
health
is.
is where we vibe.
And you do it in such a unique way. Tell the audience, our listeners, a little bit about you and how you came to become a musicologist, a soul health and wellness expert, and kind of how you see your role in the world in terms of what you're doing.
Well, thank you so much. Well, I'll just say that becoming a soul health expert, it all started back from my childhood. Actually, I grew up in a family that my second home was a radio station. So because my dad owned a radio station and it's been in business for over 60 years in the Chicagoland area, I kind of grew up around frequencies my entire life, right? So this world of being able to transmit a message where into the air and people grab hold of it and then are inspired by it and motivated by it, and you have it and connect with their souls in a real way. I mean, I was kind of born into it, and music was the modality that I was introduced to because my dad, interestingly enough, he was a music lover and he was a well-known DJ. His name was Purvis Van the Blues Man. And he actually went on to crown Aretha Franklin, the Queen of Soul. So
Wow.
music played a major role in our lives. And so music was like my best friend, a tool that I grew up listening to. But at the same time, on a personal level, I also was a child that was a sensitive child. Some would, if back then, some would probably, right now we call those gifted kids, right?
Mhm.
But back then I was just a highly sensitive child. And because I had this great level of sensitivity, I grew up in an environment, being in Chicago, even in my family background, where I went through a lot of verbal abuse, a lot of
Mm,
emotional and verbal abuse. And so, I carried a lot of deep, dense, low vibrational frequencies, fear and anger and guilt and shame. And
mm,
also because my father's business was in the entertainment industry. I mean, the entertainment industry can be rather tough because it is a very narcissistic environment. Right.
mm,
So I went through this space all throughout my life up into my 40s, quite frankly,
mhm,
where I was learning how to process these dark, deep
mm,
emotions. And later on, actually, in my late 20s, I was diagnosed with an autoimmune deficiency. Now, I had gone to, went off to college and become a nurse, but I really didn't learn anything about healing as a nurse, right? I learned pretty much a lot of things that would support someone or support the collective when you may have a health issue, but healing wasn't necessarily what I had learned. And now I was diagnosed with something that doctors didn't know where it came from. And I had one option, and that was to take prescription drugs for the rest of my life. Now, I knew enough to know this, that if you're on a prescription drug for the rest of your life, chances are it could lead to a bigger problem, or
right.
it can certainly impact my the systems of the body in a negative way. And I have seen chronic disease totally take over the bodies or the lives of my family members as they were aging, and I didn't want to sign up for that. And
Mm,
so I went on this journey like, okay, well, just because they don't have the answer, what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to say, well, they don't have the answer. let me accept, let me accept that I'm going to have to live with this for the rest of my life. Or should I go outside of my box? And since I had already studied nursing, let me go a little further and start really finding out about possibly how I can heal from this condition, psoriasis, right?
mhm,
And so it was on that journey that I was introduced to holistic remedies and practices that I had never learned about in college.
mhm,
And I may have heard about from other people in different ways and their own, helpful modalities or helpful suggestions on how to heal. But I had become absolutely committed to finding out how this came about. And what I learned from my research is that it did not necessarily originate from inside the body.
mm, mm,
Chronic stress leads to chronic disease. And I had suffered from chronic stress my entire life, being bullied, not really knowing how to process my emotions.
mm,
Also, let me be 100% transparent. I was a narcissist. Can you
mhm,
believe that, sweet
mhm.
old nurse Blue?
No, not at all. Are you sure?
But I was a narcissist, and I had to go and deal with my soul issues, the beliefs that were taking place in my subconscious mind, the stored toxic emotions that I was carrying, which I refer to as soul toxins, and
Mhm.
understand that, and the patterns of behavior that I had, adopted along the way. And so with commitment and years, when I say nearly 30 years of doing my own work and helping others and being trained, and here we go. I became a musicologist, and I found out that my love for music
Mhm.
was the reason why I love music, because that was the thing that soothed my soul. That's why we love music anyway. You go to a party. What's a party without music? You go to
Right,
church. Why do churches use music
right,
for the
right.
healing modalities? And come to find out, music has been one of the ways, or one of the my favorite tools that I've used to help to on my soul health journey. And so now I teach the art and science of musicology to help people, particularly women, with relieve chronic stress. So it's just one of the
Wow.
tools I use, but it is my main tool.
That's amazing because I think that most people don't consciously think about the idea, oh, I'm going to listen to this music to raise my vibration or to relieve stress. But when you really think about it, when you're listening to your favorite music, you feel a sense of joy, happiness, and it kind of takes it's almost like an out of body experience at first, especially if it's a song that you haven't heard for a long time. And one of the
Yes.
things that's so wonderful about your room that you do on Clubhouse is that you find songs that might be somewhat familiar to us, but the cover is different. in terms of the music, the arrangement of course, it's a different artist, and the message even sometimes seems different because of how it's performed or how the music is arranged. Why is it, do you think, that music has such an impact on our overall mood? What is it from a scientific perspective that helps us to feel better when we're listening to music?
Well, I always share with people, we've been taught our entire lives that we're human beings, but we're
Hmm.
spiritual
Hmm.
beings. And I'm sure that people who listen that will find this podcast probably already know that. But the depths of what that means is where you would understand why music is so impactful. So, as a spiritual being, we have a soul, and that subconscious mind is always communicating our thoughts and our ideas outside. And then our heart, right? Our heart is a beautiful magnet, and it's always attracting that which we're feeling and what we are believing back to us. And so what music is doing oftentimes, people don't realize is that in this universe was created through light and sound. And
Mm.
so in our DNA, it's almost like we are calibrated to receive music. And so because we create with our words,
Hmm.
right? When I am speaking life, when I'm saying, if I'm affirming your goodness and I'm affirming your
Hmm.
truth and you're receiving it, and you actually increasing the vibrational frequency of your soul. And then the sound. I mean, when you think about the solfeggio frequencies, those are the frequencies where, you can play a 852 hertz, which I'm actually playing in my background right now. That is the frequency of unconditional love. And as a spiritual being, that's where we're sourced from, unconditional love. So when you go to a spa and you hear soothing music, all of that is working together to bring our body
It
back.
does. It kind of brings it down. In fact, just to give someone an idea, what's considered to be something that's low vibrationally? What's the megahertz, and what kinds of things vibrate that low?
So I always like to guide people to a tool that I use. It's called the Map of Consciousness tool. So it's a scale. So you can determine where you are on this frequency scale. So let's just say right now in our world, we're really dealing with the vibrational frequency of fear. And on that scale, which was created by Dr. David Hawkins, who was a psychologist that came out with this wonderful tool back in the 90s,
Hmm.
fear resonates at somewhere around 150 hertz, according to this scale.
So it's very low
Very
vibrational.
low, absolutely, very low. So joy is what I oftentimes encourage people to master as we increase our vibrational frequency. And that's at 540. Well, depending on what tool, but on this tool, it's 540 hertz, right?
Okay.
Now, the thing is, if you would like to elevate your vibrational frequency to bring that calmness, that balance, and that joy into your life, I would certainly suggest that you tune in to a 852 hertz frequency, which is what I'm
Mm.
listening to right now. A 432 hertz frequency is really good. That's why you would hear that. That's kind of like a meditation kind of
Hmm.
frequency,
Hmm.
brings you into a space of ease and flow. And what we're doing when we're using musicology in this way, we are aligning our chakras, which are
Ah.
our energy centers, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And so I also would recommend a 528 frequency because that's also a frequency that is associated with stress relief and releasing anxiety. Then there's frequencies for increasing abundance in your life, which is an 888 frequency. And
Wow.
so what you want to do is understand that when we say we're multidimensional, what you're doing is you are truly helping to bring optimal health and wellness on a vibrational level. And
Mm.
that's called vibrational health. And so what music does and what the entertainment industry understand that music does is that it helps to align you. It can
Hmm.
be used in that way. And also it can be used as a weapon, which we're very familiar with in musical culture as well, because the power of music is so rooted and who we are and what we are as a spiritual being. So my name, what I like to do is create Blue lists. I live up to my name, Blue, which is I create a list of songs, I curate a list of songs designed to build you, designed to love you and connect you back to your original essence, to unite us, because we have mastered brokenness in our world. But at this time we're living in right now, we need music to inspire us to become united. So to bring us back to a space of wholeness and empower you. Because when we are empowered, then quite frankly, it's hard to catch you when you feel empowered.
Right,
You know,
right.
and
That's true.
great music. Yeah. I mean, when you think about some of the old Baptist churches where, you have a great choir, there are some choirs that were so powerful, literally break the low vibrational frequencies off of your soul. And those are what I also often call our slave frequencies. So that shame that a lot of people live with, that guilt, that grief, anger, judgment, pride, those are low vibrational frequencies. And
which we all actually have on different levels.
Absolutely. It's part of the human experience.
In talking about the whole frequency story and what it's all about, it really does help me to understand why you named your new book Freedom is Your Frequency, because you can be more emotionally free if you're working on raising your frequencies. If you allow your frequencies to rule you, then you're not emotionally free, because those would be the lower frequencies that make you feel sad, angry, tired, overwhelmed. Yes, it's from a bondage. So let's talk about your book, Freedom is Your Frequency. Well, actually, it's a journal. What is it? What does it entail?
Yay, there it is. Can you see it? Freedom
Yep, hold it still for hold it still for a second, because you've got the background on there. Oh, it's coming through a little bit. It's coming through. But we're going to have a link to it also on the show page. But what made you decide to write it? And what are some of the main points of Freedom is Your Frequency?
Well, since I've been a coach, a nurse, a woman on planet Earth, living in America, I mean, we've been having conversations about freedom. And this soul came here to be free, because it's our birthright. And I wanted to contribute to the collective finding that freedom, but we've been programmed to believe that it's outside of us, and it's not outside of us. And freedom is a frequency. It's something you tap into inside of your heart, because it really doesn't matter how much money you have or how successful you are or how many square foot home you live in. If you don't have joy, you're not experiencing freedom. And so I always ask people, what's sitting on top of your joy? And most people don't know, because we have been taught to look for joy outside of ourselves. When that real joy, the joy that you're really searching for, it's authentically and it's innate within you. But we have not been taught through our programming how to find that. And you can't have joy in judgment, right? So in freedom in my journal, I wanted to create a friend as a journal, right? And so I share the 5 simple tips that people can learn on how to truly tap into that freedom frequency of joy and sustain it. I live down in Orlando, Florida, and families from all around the world come to visit the mouse so that they can have joyous experience. They pay a lot of money to come here, right? And I love, Disney and all of that stuff. But the reality of it is, freedom is a frequency and joy is inside of you. And most people, well, it doesn't matter how much you pay for an experience, or what kind of relationship you go into, or who your friends are, or what rooms you're in. If joy is not a part of that, and Lord knows this has been my experience over and over and over again. And in the words of Marvin Gaye and Tammy Terrell, as a musicologist, ain't no mountain high enough. Ain't no valley low enough. I mean, absolutely. If you do not have joy, it's really difficult for you to enjoy this life without having chronic stress come after you.
Let's talk about that a little bit. chronic stress. What's your definition of chronic stress?
Chronic stress is a state of being that disrupts the autonomic nervous system over a extended amount of time. So acute stress is oftentimes, if you have a moment where you're driving and someone cuts you off and it seems like you might get in an accident or something, and you might feel like your heart rate increases and you might be a little afraid. Well, chronic stress is what we have been taught to live through throughout our lives, particularly as women. And what happens is we destabilize our entire systems, the most important systems of the body, the immune system, the digestive system, the endocrine and the endocannabinoid system, which a lot of people don't even realize.
Don't even know what that is exactly. Yeah. We'll have to bring you back to talk more about that, because that's a whole nother topic right there, the endocannabinoid system, which is
Yes,
a huge proponent when it comes to our overall wellness.
absolutely. And our autonomic nervous system.
Mhm.
And we learn to deal with stress by managing it and coping with it. But it is your killer. Why do we cope with our killer? So what chronic stress does to the body over time, it just breaks it down, and it leads to diagnosis, and it also leads to prescription drugs, unhealthy lifestyle as we're coping with it, sleepless nights, all the signs and symptoms that we are very familiar with oftentimes as women. But when you learn how to master and sustain joy, chronic stress can't catch you. And that's the thing. Once we master it and learn how to tap into it, it helps to fortify our bodies, our souls, our lives. Joy is a great anti-aging mechanism. Joy defeats jealousy. I mean, I actually has an assessment in the book where you can find out what your joy killers are. And what I realized is that if people really understood how much of our thinking separates us from joy, how much anger and stored emotions that we've been taught to kind of carry like a badge of honor, how much does it sit on our joy? And not to mention the fact that, for those of us who believe in the word of God, I mean, there are over 430 scriptures about joy in the Bible. It's something to say about that. It is our strength. And quite frankly, it is a soul nutrient. And without it, you have chaos in the world. So joy helps us release our soul toxins that oftentimes lead to a disease state.
So as someone is listening to you and hearing about joy and saying, yeah, that's what I need to do. I need to figure out how to get more joy in my life. What's the first step to begin that process of ushering in more joy in your life and raising your frequency as well, your vibration as well, so that you can maintain that kind of a situation of joy? What's the first step? Where do they go? What do they do first?
That's a great question. The first step is you become committed to self-love,
Mhm.
because no one is going to do that for you. And that means you are totally taking 100% responsibility for your life. The next thing I would encourage people to do is pick up the Freedom is a Frequency book.
I ordered mine. It should get here tomorrow. I thought it was going to get here today, but I guess it'll get here tomorrow. But it's first of all, I love the cover, but I love the title and I love the messaging. It's a very unique book. It's not what you might think. And because I know Latrice, and we've had many conversations, I know that she has put her heart and soul into this book to be able to share the message, because the whole idea of joy, soul healing, raising vibrations and frequencies is kind of intrinsic and sometimes difficult for people to visualize, because we're talking about concepts that aren't necessarily talked about from a scientific or even medical perspective. Some people say, oh, that's just all woo-woo stuff, but there's a lot of studies that are directly correlated and talk about the direct correlation of good health and wellness and joy. And notice we're talking about joy, not happiness. Why don't you, because I want you to share with them, what is the difference between joy and happiness? And why does joy seem to be more important?
Well, you mentioned something that is really great, because people might consider it woo-woo, but we have this whole new technology called emotional intelligence,
Mm,
right? And that's pretty much what the whole idea of what emotional intelligence is all about, helping us understand the emotion, the emotional self, the things you cannot see. So, the bottom line is this. Lennis, at the end of the day, as we learn how to love our souls, really communicate learning how to come in contact with our soul, we have so many distractions in our world that keep us thinking about what's happening outside of us. And there are a lot of people who are afraid to take the inward journey, truly.
Yeah.
So being courageous enough to take that inward journey and allow the little girl, it's almost like deciding to go back in time and not necessarily reliving the trauma if that existed. And I can't imagine how anyone has not gone through some kind of trauma on planet
We
Earth.
all have. We all have,
But
yes.
yes, but giving yourself permission to rewrite the story,
Mm.
giving yourself permission to go and release that blocked energy that might be standing in your way. You're becoming a new person. It's giving yourself, when we hear these quotes and stuff all the time, becoming the best version of yourself. This is how you get there.
I love that because you're right. We hear that all the time. Become the best version of yourself. But again, it's kind of esoteric because it's like, okay, well, what does that mean? I don't even
Right.
know what the best version is. But one thing that many of us do know, we may not know exactly what the best version is, but we also know that what's going on with this perhaps right now isn't our best version. So
Right.
it's kind of like it's difficult to solve a problem if you don't identify what the problem is. So
And,
once you've identified that, okay, something's missing, and I know that there are steps and things that I can do to change it. That's when you need to go and pick up Latrice or Nurse Blue's Freedom is Your Frequency, because it can show you how to begin to move yourself from that joyless state, or maybe it's anger or depression or anxiety, whatever it is, to one of emotional wellness that eventually will get you to joy. But I want to talk a little bit about your musicology background real quick. I visit your clubhouse rooms. I go to your wonderful YouTube channel. And as I mentioned earlier, you find all this wonderful music. Explain to them how the music is tied to frequency and what kind of music should they be listening to that can help them with their quest to have more joy and to basically live at a higher frequency.
absolutely. Well, I always tell people, we all have our favorite genres. And
Mm-hmm.
so I, on my healing journey, has started curating like over 2,000 songs to a
Mm.
point that now I have my own genre. Literally.
Wow.
And launched it. It's called Blue Soul. And so
Mm.
whatever music that pretty much feels at home for you, whether it's pop music, whether it's soul or jazz or what have you, I like bossa nova music as well. Whatever you feel that your body is saying yes to, that's the genre of music you need to veer off to.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
You know,
Because
I
they're
have
calibrated
I
differently.
love, we have that in common, bossa nova. I've been listening to Latin jazz, soft Latin jazz and bossa nova for the last 3 days. I don't know. When
Yes.
I got back from my travels, I walked into my office and I said, you know that name, and say it out loud. And I said, so and so, play light Latin jazz. And
Right.
immediately, and sometimes when you listen to it long enough, it begins to kind of like go into other genres and things like that. But by the time I finished listening to all this stuff, I could have sworn I was ready to speak Spanish. I mean, I can do
I
that now.
know. I
But there's
know.
something about that music that is soothing, but uplifting at the same time, and
Yes.
somewhat meditative too, because I was like
Yes.
working and, kind of calm. But
Absolutely. So,
yeah, it's
so your
wonderful.
soul will guide you toward the music that it loves most, and whether it's music with lyrics or without, right?
Hmm.
Now, I believe that it is always best to find music that speaks directly, affirms your soul, gives you wisdom, because there are songs that give you wisdom, there's songs that inspire you, encourage you, and tell stories that could oftentimes be used as healing. So any song that is designed to build you, to love you, to unite us and empower us is are healthy songs for our souls. Therefore, not only is it raising your individual frequency, but it's
Right.
also helping the well-being of the collective. The world was healthier, quite frankly, when our music was healthier.
Right. And right now we are going through a very, what I've considered to be a very low vibrational period. All
Yes.
the more reason for you to enter into self-care to take care of you and what I call your bubble,
Yes.
so
Yes.
that some of that negativity doesn't radiate in and impact, because you can live a high vibrational life and still not be in denial and somewhat engaged in a crazy world. You can still maintain that high vibration by
Oh, you
using a
have
lot of
to.
the things that you talk about in Freedom is Your Frequency. Now, on the show page there are all the links to Nurse Blue, or as I love to call it, Latrice, Nurse Blue, whatever. They're wonderful, wonderful membership program. Talk about your membership program that you have.
Yes, thank you so much. So everyone, please come and check out soulhealthcommunity.com. And because the Soul Health and Wellness Club is a club that I created some with kind of like with an athletic club in mind, right? We've had health clubs forever, but this
Mm-hmm.
is the Soul Health and Wellness Club where you can come and be a part of a party experience, being introduced to wellness modalities, meditation, because that's a soul health tool as well, and musicology. And then also, I have curated hundreds of videos from experts from around the world, doctors and scientists and other wellness coaches like Glennis, who have great resources to contribute to soul health, because this is a new journey getting to know the real you. And the Soul Health and Wellness Club, I'm also in partnership with Dr. Erica Montgomery, who's a psychologist.
Mm-hmm.
And so we work together really helping people understand what soul health is and how to take your soul wherever it is in your stage of development, wherever you are, how to get to know that soul. And if you're having a health condition that has led to, if you want to reverse a health condition or you want to prevent a health condition, showing you how soul health is a wonderful way to do so. So, we know of doctors like Dr. Joe Dispenza, who's a really great neuroscientist, who's teaching people about soul health right now. And there's a lot of technology out, new medical technology that people aren't aware of. So Soul Health and Wellness Club introduces you to the more recent tools that we have that maybe your medical practitioners are not aware of because, hey, they haven't been introduced to them at this level. And also to empower people who decided, you know what, I want some other options to explore how I can prevent or reverse disease. So the Soul Health and Wellness Club community is there for you to do
Oh,
so.
that's fantastic. So please go ahead and visit her website to find out more about how you can have an increased soul health. And also make sure you pick up her journal, Freedom is Your Frequency. It is a wonderful resource to help you get to a point where you're working on raising your vibration. And don't forget to check out her YouTube channel as well, where she's got playlists of music that definitely is going to make your day better. Nurse Boots, thank you for the light that you put into the world. I know you're very passionate about it, and I know how much you prepare and study and research what you talk about, and you're truly a gift. And thank you so much for being my guest on the Vibe Living podcast. It was just wonderful having you here today.
Thank you for the invitation. And thank you so much for just being an advocate for soul health and all that you do. I look up to you and what you do. So, so thank you so much.
Oh, we will just look up to each other then. That's wonderful.
That's right.
And thank you to all of you and for the support you're giving the Vibe Living podcast. We're growing every day. I can't believe the listeners and the downloads. Keep doing it. Please share this podcast with someone that you think would be interested. And make sure you get a chance to like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. I'd love a review. Let me know what you think about the podcast. And also, I want to hear from you in terms of the other kinds of things we can talk about, because it really is all about the vibe, being more vibrant, intuitive, beautiful, and empowered, especially during your midlife journey. Thanks so much for listening, everybody. And don't forget to vibe. Bye-bye, everybody. Thanks for listening to the Vibe Living Podcast. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment, and share this podcast. Have a fantastic day, and don't forget to vibe. Bye-bye, everybody.